Hello, welcome back to the Rumble Comics, where we talk everything comics, graphic novels, and manga related. Today I am here with a Friday recommendation video where I'm going to be talking about 5 comics that you can check out, 5 comic series that you can check out that are not superheroes. A lot of times when people ask me for recommendations when it comes to comics, they're very nervous about reading anything that comes out of Marvel or DC because they're often associated with superheroes and people feel like it's just a bit too much. The worlds are too complex, there's too many characters, too many origin stories to keep it with, and granted, I completely understand that. I'm still trying to sift through a lot of what Marvel and DC has to offer, and it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It is definitely a lot. Although I will say that Vertigo, which used to be an imprint of DC, did offer a lot of titles that were not superheroes. So not always superhero based when it comes to those two entities, but I think they're often associated with superheroes. So I thought I would come to you today with a few recommendations for those who really want to get into comics but do not want to read superheroes. Alright, so a couple of these I think I have talked about before. A few of them I've talked about pretty heavily on my channel, which is perfectly fine. Or maybe not on this channel, maybe I've talked about it heavily on my other channel, but some of you may be familiar with these if you've been an avid watcher of mine for a while. But we're going to go ahead and start off with one of my favorites that hopefully is coming out of hiatus pretty soon, and that is Bitterroot. So Bitterroot is Walker Brown, Green, Renzi, and Cows. This is a speculative horror comic book series that follows a specific family, and it is deep rooted in the Black experience, Black history. It has a little bit of everything if you are someone that is very much so interested in that historical aspect as well as the horror aspect. So the best way to describe Bitterroot is that it is a story that takes place in the 20s, and it centers on this family that are very heavily known and are very gifted and talented at fighting these creatures who develop because they are humans who have internalized their hatred. So unfortunately, by the time that we begin to start this specific first volume, we find that the family has encountered tragedy and a great portion of them have actually ended up dying. And so they're kind of spread out, they're split up. They are very much so on different paths of how to take the appropriate course of action when it comes to defeating these monsters. But then there's this entity that appears that is unlike anything that they've seen before. And so the family kind of has to pull the pieces together and band together once again in order to defeat this monster, these entities that are now popping up. This is fast paced, it's great. Bree and I have done a live show discussion about Bitterroot, reading volumes 1 through 3. I actually haven't read this one in a while, and I feel like I am ultimately due for a reread. The next one I have is also another series that is incomplete for me. The series itself is incomplete. As a matter of fact, the sister of the main character in the series has actually gotten a spin-off called Chu, but I have not finished CHU, but I have not finished the origin story, which is Chu. I started reading this a very, very long time ago. This is a complete series. I just haven't gotten to all of the volumes yet. I need to start over. It's been my intention to read this entire series for a very, very long time. But this is by John Layman and Rob Guillory. This focuses on a main character who has these interesting abilities. So everyone actually in this world has interesting abilities that in a lot of ways center around food. This takes place in a version of our world where chicken has been outlawed because of the bird flu. And so people buy chicken now on the black market. We follow Tony Chu, who is working for the police department, and there is a situation that kind of goes wrong, and people find out that he has this specific power where he can eat anything that you put in front of him, literally anything, and he can tell you exactly where it's come from. So if he eats a burger, he gets a flashback of how the cow was slaughtered and the meat was processed in order to make the burger. And so his eating experiences are not really that great at all, and he primarily eats beets because it's the only thing that doesn't give him this really weird reaction. Well, after it is discovered that he was able to solve a case by tasting the remains of a human, the media and the police department have a field day with it. Eventually, though, he is picked up by the FBI to help solve larger cases, and the adventure kind of takes off from there, where there's a larger plot and scheme that is going on that introduces us to a plethora of other characters that have similar I guess, special powers as Tony, but also ones that are extremely different. There's one character in here who I adore, and they are able to write food reviews. And when they write positive food reviews, when you read it, you feel like you're actually experiencing the pleasure of eating that food. That is amazing. But when they write a bad food review, you have a physical reaction where you actually get sick. So very, very great one to check out if you're a food. Of course, there was no way that I was going to be able to make this list at all without including something by James Tynion. Y'all know I am a James Tynion stan. Absolutely adore him as a writer. He is well acclaimed now at this point in terms of Eisners that he's won. He has done some superhero work, but he's also done some indie stuff that does not heavily focus on superheroes. And one of my favorite series by him of all time is Something is Killing the Children. I need to catch up on that one because I still haven't read the 5th volume. I've read volumes 1 through 4 a few times. I think primarily like volume 1 and 2 I've read a couple times, and then 3 maybe once or twice, and 4 I know I've only read once. But I do need to pick up volume 5 to continue on with the story. It is one of the best written comic books that I've read that's non-superhero. We are following this story about these monsters that specifically can only be seen by children, and they are eating and killing children. And when we step into the 1st volume, we are introduced to a main character who watches his friends get eaten by these creatures. Of course, no one believes him because the adults and the older, like, I would say like older teenagers, 19, 20, 21, but they definitely, which they are adults, don't know why I said that, but older people cannot see these entities, so of course nobody's going to believe him until Erica pops up. And Erica is a part of, or formerly was a part of, this group of family that is responsible for killing these entities. So she comes to save the day in this town and let this kid know, like, hey, I believe you. I know that this is a thing, and I'm here to help you all. And we kind of go from there. There is a spinoff to this series that is called House of Slaughter. And when I tell you, when I read volume 1 of House of Slaughter, emotionally it broke me. It was one of my favorite reads when Brie and I originally did the discussions around it. Something is Killing the Children. House of Slaughter, just, I've never read a comic book that made me so emotional, and I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that there were characters present, because it serves as a prequel. There were characters present in this 1st volume of House of Slaughter that we kind of see how their storyline plays out in the main storyline of Something is Killing the Children. So to get their prequel story is just gut-wrenching. I will tell you that you should read, if you read all of the trades, you need to read them in publication order. I wouldn't read House of Slaughter before you pick up volumes 1, 2, or 3 of Something is Killing the Children, because it's going to give you better context. Personally, I think the best reading order is reading Something's Killing the Children volumes 1, 2, 3, House of Slaughter volume 1, and then Something's Killing the Children 4 and 5. The next one that I have to recommend is just a 2-volume series. So if you are interested in something that's a little bit shorter, but you like the dark stuff, which I didn't realize how dark these recommendations were until now. Don't worry, I'm going to close this one out with one that's a little bit on the lighter side. But one that I have read completely that is finished is Lady Killer. I have not heard enough people talk about Lady Killer. I know that it just got a new release recently where I think it's both volumes into a complete omni, which I think, or hardcover, which I think is pretty cool. But Lady Killer is one that I've picked up a few years ago. I need to go back and do a reread of it. It's been a while since I read it. I think the last time I read Lady Killer was like in 2018. It's been 5 years since I've read it. But Lady Killer follows a housewife. Seemingly it follows a housewife, and it's like a 1950s housewife who plays like she rocks with gender roles. She really doesn't, okay? She's an assassin, and so she is contracted. She's a contracted killer, and so she does this on the side, and it's interesting watching her balance doing these contracted killings while also making sure to come home, have the house clean, dinner on the table. It's a very unique concept that Joelle Jones came up with, and I absolutely loved it. Fell in love with it when I read it. I was hoping and praying that maybe Joelle would expand it a little bit and give us more than just the 2 volumes, but unfortunately, from what I know, my knowledge, if you know differently, let me know, it is just those 2 volumes. But if you're looking for something that has kind of like a weird twist on it, I definitely would recommend picking up Lady Killer. Also, like I said, if you're looking for something that's shorter, because a couple of these series are pretty long, except Bitterroot, which is on hiatus. She was pretty long, not gonna lie to you about that. Something is Killing the Children is up to its 5th volume, also tying in with House of Slaughter. So if you want something that's pretty, you know, 1, 2, knock it out and you're done, I definitely would recommend picking up Lady Killer. All right, and the last one that I have for you is one that I am currently in the process of rereading myself, and that is Giant Days. Giant Days is a slice of life comic book series. It has an extensive amount of volumes, if I'm not mistaken, with a couple of like spin-off standalones, if I'm remembering all of this information correctly, because it's been a while since I've read Giant Days. I think when I was reading Giant Days, I got up to volume like 7 or 8. And this probably goes anywhere between 12 to 14 volumes. So this is another longer one. But if you are interested in a longer series, you want something that's kind of light, contemporary, slice of life, Giant Days is going to be the thing for you. It is about these 3 girls, or 3 young women, excuse me, who are at uni that are basically just trying to figure things out. It is literally their day-to-day, their ups and downs, their friendship with each other, the issues that they have with, like, you know, deciding, okay, what am I going to major in, the relationships that they have with people, the breakups that they go through. I just think that Giant Days for me was always a comfort comic book series, which I didn't realize until later on in life. And now rereading it, now that I'm a little bit older, I'm like, okay, I can definitely see why I vibe with this. Really good comfort, really great art, a lot of great humor in it, and all 3 of our main characters have such distinct personalities that they balance each other out. I think there's great women empowerment in this, there's great support in this. They really are there for each other in every situation, and that's not to say that they don't have their ups and downs with each other, but I think it's very realistic in a lot of in a lot of different ways, especially when I think about like my own experience at my university. There were a lot of bits and pieces of this year. I was like, yeah, we've all had those, you know, those college university experiences. All right, y'all, so those are 5 comic book series that you can start that don't involve superheroes. If you feel intimidated by the whole concept of superheroes, you think DC, Marvel, you're like, absolutely not, too much. I watch the MCU and it's even that's too complicated. So I hope that this helps you out. If there are other recommendations that you would like to see me do, I'm hoping, y'all know me, I'm hoping, goals here. I'm hoping that, you know, on Fridays when possible, depending upon my schedule, this is the slowest time of year for me, so it might be a little bit more realistic to do this now, but I'm hoping that, you know, at least twice a month on Fridays I can give you recommendations, 5 comic book, manga, graphic novel based upon a certain theme. So if there's certain themes or topics that you would like to see me cover, let me know down in the comment box below. I was thinking about maybe if I have like a Google form too. It depends on how I feel. If I end up creating a Google form, I'll link it down below and you can give me like recommendations that you would like to see me do in the future. But other than that, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. If you're looking for ways to follow me on social media, all those links will be down in the description box below, and I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.